He was just a single dad janitor who stepped in when soldiers mocked the quiet, new girl. He had no rank, no power, only courage. But everything changed when the truth came out. The woman he defended was the base's new admiral. That one act of kindness didn't just expose the bullies, it transformed the entire base, and all their lives forever. Ethan Walker had cleaned the same concrete hallway floors for 12 years, long enough that he could tell which soldier had walked by from the sound of their boots alone. Life as a janitor on Ridgepoint Military Base wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, simple, and honest. Everything he needed to raise his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, after losing his wife to cancer. Every morning began the same way, until the day he heard mocking laughter echo off the walls, followed by a voice he didn't recognize, soft, nervous, and trying to stay brave. Ethan paused mid-mop. He heard the laughter again, harsher this time. He set the mop aside and walked toward the commotion. At the far end of the training field stood a woman in crisp white uniform pants and a plain gray t-shirt, her hair pulled neatly into a bun. Her face was flushed with embarrassment as 3 young soldiers circled her like bored hyenas. "Hey, new girl," one of them jeered. "You sure you're in the right place? Navy's down the road. This is a real base." Another soldier snickered. "Look at her. Probably here to do desk work." "Don't worry, sweetheart, we'll show you how things are really done." Ethan felt something hot twist in his chest. He'd seen enough bullying growing up, enough cruelty to last a lifetime. It didn't matter who she was or why she was here, she didn't deserve this. He approached before he had time to think. "Hey," he said sharply, stepping between them. "That's enough." The soldiers blinked, startled. Then they burst out laughing. "Oh look," one said, "the janitor's here to save the damsel." "You boys done humiliating yourselves," Ethan replied, voice steady. "Or you want an audience when your CO finds out?" The soldiers stiffened. They might outrank him, but he had something they didn't: longevity, proof of character, and the respect of nearly every senior officer on base. They muttered under their breath and finally walked off. Ethan exhaled and turned to the woman. "You okay?" She nodded, trying to hide how shaken she was. "Yes, thank you." Her voice was gentle, disciplined. "I'm Claire." "Ethan," he replied, "and don't mind them. Rough edges smooth out eventually." Claire smiled softly, grateful but still carrying a sadness he didn't understand. Over the next days, Ethan kept seeing her around the base, carrying stacks of paperwork, reviewing training schedules, sitting alone in the cafeteria. She was polite, humble, and hardworking, the kind of person who didn't correct others even when they treated her like an intern. Soldiers walked past her without saluting. Some barked orders at her, thinking she was just some new administrative recruit. And Claire simply nodded and did the tasks without complaint. What Ethan didn't know, what no one seemed to know, was that Claire Bennett wasn't the new girl. She was the newly appointed admiral of the entire base, arriving early and undercover to observe the internal culture before taking command. She wanted to understand her people before leading them. She wanted to rebuild a base that had slowly lost its sense of unity. But what she didn't expect was how cruel some of her own soldiers had become. One afternoon Lily came running across the courtyard, holding a white daisy she'd picked near the fence. "Daddy, Daddy, look," she giggled. Then she slowed when she saw Claire sitting alone on a bench, her shoulders slumped slightly, exhaustion written all over her face. Lily walked over to her without hesitation. "Hi, are you sad?" Claire straightened, caught off guard. "Not sad, just thinking." Lily extended the flower. "Here. Flowers make my dad smile. Maybe they can make you smile too." Claire's eyes softened instantly. She accepted the flower as if it were something precious. "Thank you," she whispered. "It helps. More than you know." When Ethan arrived, he saw the way Claire looked both surprised and deeply touched. Something in his chest softened. Claire wasn't just kind, she was lonely. Over the next week, Ethan quietly walked her through the rhythms of life on the base. He showed her where the supply runs happened. He pointed out which older soldiers loved to pretend they were strict but secretly baked cookies for the younger recruits. He explained who was struggling, who needed help, and who needed discipline. Claire listened to every word with surprising seriousness. "You see people really clearly," she said once. "Mostly because no one sees me," Ethan replied with a laugh. People show their real selves around janitors. Claire's smile faded into something sadder. Sometimes I worry people will only show me what they think I want to see. Ethan didn't understand what she meant. Everything came crashing together 2 weeks later. During an early morning drill, a rumor spread that the new Admiral was arriving on base. Soldiers scrambled into formation, adjusting uniforms, polishing boots with frantic speed. Ethan stood near the back with Lily, who loved watching the morning salutes, when he noticed Claire standing beside the barracks, calm and still, hands clasped behind her back. Before he could approach, a black SUV drove through the gates. A high-ranking officer stepped out and announced, "Attention! Present arms for Admiral Claire Bennett." The entire base froze. Dozens of soldiers snapped to salute. Ethan's eyes widened as Claire stepped forward, not toward the SUV, but away from it. The officer blinked. "Admiral Bennett." Claire nodded politely. "Good morning, Captain." Then she turned to face the entire base. The soldiers who had mocked her turned ghost white. Ethan felt the shock hit him like a wave. He replayed every moment. Her humility, her silence, the way she never fought back. She wasn't avoiding confrontation. She wasn't timid. She was watching, learning, leading. Claire addressed the troops with steady calm. "For 2 weeks, I have walked among you, not as your admiral, but as one of you. I witnessed discipline, bravery, compassion." Her eyes softened as they landed briefly on Ethan and Lily. "And I witnessed cruelty, disrespect, and behavior unworthy of the uniform." The yard was so silent Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. From this moment forward, Claire continued, "Ridgepoint Base will rebuild its culture. We will restore dignity, integrity, respect for every person, regardless of rank." The soldiers stood rigid, shame burning across several faces. After the dismissal, Claire walked straight to Ethan. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I should have told you." Ethan shook his head. "Claire, Admiral Bennett, I didn't help you because I knew anything. I just saw someone being treated wrong. That's exactly why it mattered." She smiled, a real, warm smile that reached her eyes. "Most men respect me because of my rank. You respected me because of my humanity." Lily tugged Claire's sleeve. "Does this mean you're like the boss of Daddy's boss's boss?" Claire laughed softly. "Something like that." From that day, everything changed. Soldiers who had ignored Claire before now snapped to attention. Morale improved. New training programs were launched. And Claire often sought Ethan's perspective, not because he outranked anyone, but because he understood people in ways others didn't. But the change that mattered most was the quiet one. Claire began spending afternoons with Ethan and Lily, sharing meals, talking about life, laughing, really laughing, as if she hadn't allowed herself to in years. The daisy Lily had given her stayed on her desk, pressed carefully inside a clear protector. And slowly, gently, Ethan realized something he never expected after losing his wife. His heart was healing. Claire, too, discovered something she had always lacked, a place where she wasn't just an admiral, but a woman with dreams, kindness, and the desire for a family she never thought she'd deserve. Their bond wasn't fast. It wasn't dramatic. It grew the way strong things do, quietly, honestly, built on respect. The base changed because of Claire. Claire changed because of Ethan. And Lily gained something she had missed desperately, someone who looked at her with the tenderness of a mother. One evening, as the sun set across the training field, Ethan sat beside Claire on the same bench Lily had once offered her a flower. Claire held a fresh daisy in her hand, rolling its stem between her fingers. "Ethan," she said softly, "I never expected to find home in a place like this." He looked at her, feeling the same truth rise in his chest. "Neither did I." The message of their story was simple but powerful. Respect costs nothing. Kindness is courage in disguise. And sometimes, defending a stranger can rewrite the course of your entire life.